As John just mentioned, the White House has not appeared before cameras to explain what the president meant until now. So let's bring in here live White House spokesperson Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
These are extremely serious charges the president is making. Where is he getting this information?
Look, I think there have been quite a few reports. I know that Jonathan and others earlier in the program mentioned that it was all conservative media, but that's frankly not true. The New York Times, BBC have also talked about and reported on the potential of this having had happened. I think the bigger thing is let's find out. Let's have an investigation. If they're going to investigate Russia ties, let's include this as part of it. And so that's what we're asking.
Was the principal source the Breitbart story, which links to the New York Times, but the New York Times doesn't say anything definitive? Donald Trump does. There is nothing equivocating about what he says. I just found out that Obama had my wires tapped. That's not looking into something. He says it happened.
Look, I think the bigger thing is you guys are always telling us to take the media seriously. Well, we are today. We're taking the reports that places like the New York Times, Fox News, BBC, multiple outlets have reported this. All we're saying is let's take a closer look. Let's look into this. If this happened, if this is accurate, this is the biggest overreach and the biggest scandal.
Look into this. The President of the United States is accusing the former president of wiretapping him.
I think that this is, again, something that if this happened, Martha,
if
I agree.
Why is the president saying it did happen?
Look, I think he is going off of information that he's seen that has led him to believe that this is a very real potential. And if it is, this is the greatest overreach and the greatest abuse of power that I think we've ever seen, and a huge attack on democracy itself. And the American people have a right to know if this took place.
Okay. The president, let me say again, the president said it did take place. Why does he believe these articles that you say you cite, and I'm saying they are not definitive? The Breitbart brings them all together, Heat Street. They have two sources with links to the counterintelligence community. That's it. Anonymous sources. The president constantly says he doesn't like anonymous sources, and he doesn't like leakers.
I love how anonymous sources don't count when it's something that's positive in this administration and against the former one. You guys use anonymous sources every single day.
But it is the president. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But now that there are new anonymous sources, it doesn't matter.
But what's the bar there? What does the president believe?
Look, I think he's made very clear what he believes, and he's asking that we get down to the bottom of this. Let's get the truth here. Let's find out. I think the bigger story isn't who reported it, but is it true? And I think the American people have a right to know if this happened, because if it did, again, this is the largest abuse of power that I think we've ever seen.
Okay, let me just say one more time. The president said, I bet a good lawyer could make a great case out of the fact that President Obama was tapping my phones in October. So the president believes it is true?
I would say that his tweet speaks for itself there.
The Washington Post says this morning that senior U.S. officials with knowledge of wide-ranging federal investigation into Russian interference in the election said there had been no wiretap.
Well, they've also said there's no evidence of any wrongdoing by the Trump administration or the Trump campaign in coordination, but that doesn't seem to matter to the media. That point gets continued to be ignored over and over again. We've been on this for 6 months, and you guys continue to ignore that and continue to bring up the investigation. All we're asking is that we have the same level of look into the potential that the Obama administration wiretapped Trump Tower.
President Obama, through a spokesman, denied any direct involvement. Does President Trump not believe him?
Well, I think, they don't have the best track record. They said they had a cardinal rule. Well, frankly, that's just not true. The president himself got directly involved when it came to the email scandal with Hillary Clinton.
So do you not believe him? You do not believe him when he says this doesn't happen?
Privately and secretly with Bill Clinton during the middle of an investigation. So to pretend like this is a very clean and credible source coming from, I'm sorry, I'm just not buying that.
Do you believe there was a FISA order, even if President Obama didn't order it?
I think there certainly could have been, and it sounds like there's something that we should look into and verify.
Is the Trump administration looking now?
That's a little above my pay grade. I think that that's something that White House counsel would have to answer. But I do think that we owe it to the American people to look into it.
If there is an order, there would have to be probable cause shown before it was granted, evidence of wrongdoing. So isn't the president, by saying this indeed happened, confirming that the investigation had enough evidence to get a FISA order?
Look, I'm not sure if they can create wrongdoing. They've certainly been trying to make the case for it. The FBI has said that this is BS. The House Intelligence Chair has said that there's no evidence of it. But I don't know that that would indicate that intelligence services wouldn't have attempted to see if there was something at that point in October.
And a FISA court order wiretap is highly classified information. Why is it acceptable for the president to just tweet something like that out?
I don't think he's tweeting out classified information. He's talking about, could this have happened? Did this happen? These are reports that you guys in the media have been reporting.
He said it did happen.
Everybody acts like President Trump is the one that came up with this idea and just threw it out there. There are multiple news outlets that have reported this, and all we're asking is that we get the same level of look into the Obama administration and the potential that they had for a complete abuse of power that they've been claiming that we have done over the last 6 months. And time again, it's been said there's no evidence there was wrongdoing. The FBI says this is BS. Yet you guys continue to hammer and hammer of some false idea and false narrative that there's something there when, frankly, there just isn't.
I just want to say, Donald Trump started this on Saturday morning talking about this.
I'd hardly say he started it when there were multiple news reports prior to that.
Many months ago, President Trump has consistently complained about leakers. If these stories are true, if Heat Street has two sources they say are linked to counterintelligence, are you going to go after those leakers?
Look, we take every leak seriously in the White House, whether it is something that helps us or not. We cannot have people leaking classified information at any level, and we certainly take that very seriously and would not ignore that.
Have you ever heard these allegations from the president before?
I have not had a conversation with him about these personally before.
Had he consulted anyone before he tweeted that he was going to put these explosive allegations out?
I can't speak 100% whether he did or not. I'm not sure.
Couldn't the president declassify these things if he wanted to?
I don't think that's necessary. I think what is necessary is Congress doing its job. Let them investigate this. Let them do exactly what they've done on our end and see whether there's something there. And I think that there is a lot of reporting that indicates that there certainly is.
Do you think there should be a special prosecutor to look at this?
I don't think we're there yet. I think we need to let Congress do their job. I think that's where we need to start. And again, I think that's the first place to go, and we see what happens from there.
Can you tell us anything about the meeting that President Trump had last night with Attorney General Jeff Sessions? Did they meet?
I believe they had dinner. Yes, they did.
And the subject?
Look, he's the Attorney General of the United States.
Who recused himself
He's one of the cabinet members for the president. We have a lot of activity ongoing, potential for an EO coming out at some point that would certainly involve the Attorney General, and I would imagine that came up during dinner.
Does the president still believe Attorney General Sessions should not have recused himself?
Look, the president believes that Jeff Sessions is a good man and that he didn't do anything wrong. So I certainly feel that he didn't feel it was necessary, but he also is very supportive of the Attorney General.
And did the White House ask Attorney General Sessions specifically not to recuse himself?
Look, the White House was not involved in the details of, what that decision process looked like. I know the Attorney General met with the Ethics Council at the Department of Justice, and he made that decision internally and going through that process, not by direction of the White House.
And Sarah, I just want to go back again to the president's tweet one more time. And Sean Spicer tweeting today as well, reports concerning potentially politically motivated investigations immediately ahead of the 2016 election are very troubling. It sounds like the White House is really doubling down on what President Trump
as we should, Martha.
Happened.
If this happened, once again, this would be the greatest abuse of power and overreach that's probably ever occurred in the executive branch.
But what
it's
about
something that
these
certainly
accusations?
deserves
you just
to
keep
be
saying
looked at.
If The President of the United States said it was a fact. He didn't say, I read a story in Breitbart or the New York Times or wherever else. He said, just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower. That's not an if.
Look, I will let the president speak for himself, but in terms of where we are in the White House, our ask...
You're a spokesperson.
And I'm speaking about it right now.
But you're backing off of it. You're backing off
How
of
am
what
I backing
President
off
Trump
of it
said.
while I'm saying that I
Because
think that this
you're saying
happened and I think that the American people have a right to know. And I think that we should get definitive answers. I think we need to put out hard facts that show that this happened.
Okay. That's what President Trump was clearly doing in those tweets. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Sarah. Appreciate it.